There's a guy in my neighborhood named Marcus who retired at 57, travels constantly, Europe, South America, Southeast Asia, pays $3,000 a year for health insurance, $3,000. Then there's his buddy Devin, same company, same salary, same net worth. Devin just retired last month at 65, 8 years later. Because Devin was told healthcare before Medicare would cost him $15,000 a year, and he believed that number for 8 years without ever checking it. Here's what's insane about this, both numbers are real. 15,000 is real. 3,000 is real. Same marketplace, same state, same coverage, same deductible. The difference wasn't luck. It wasn't timing. There wasn't some special deal Marcus found on the internet. It was one decision Marcus made at age 48 that Devin never knew existed. One decision, and it bought Marcus 8 extra years of his life, while Devin sat in meetings and commutes and alarm clocks, waiting for a birth date to set him free. And the worst part, Devin could have made that same decision. He had the money, he had the savings, he had the health, but nobody told him the game he was playing had a different set of rules than the ones his financial advisor explained. Nobody told him that two people with identical wealth can pay wildly different amounts for the exact same insurance, and that the difference is entirely within your control if you understand how one number on your tax return actually works. So today, I'm going to show you exactly why Marcus pays $3,000 and Devin paid $15,000. Same net worth, same plan, same insurance. I'm going to show you the specific account mistake that traps millionaires in jobs they hate because they think healthcare makes early retirement impossible. And I'm going to break down the one strategy you need to set up right now, whether you're 30 or 55. If you want any shot at retiring before 65 without healthcare costs blowing up your entire plan. But stay all the way to the end, because there's a section about what I call qualified rich and cash poor that explains why the entire system is designed to push your money into the one account type that makes early retirement healthcare the most expensive. And once you see how this trap works, you're going to be angry at every piece of retirement advice you've ever received. Hit subscribe if healthcare is the one thing making you second-guess early retirement. This community deals with how the system actually works, not the generic advice that got Devin stuck until 65. Drop a comment. What age are you targeting, and is healthcare the thing holding you back? I want to know where you're stuck. All right. Let me show you exactly why Devin gave away 8 years of his life for absolutely no reason, right? Most people think healthcare before 65 costs some fixed amount, like there's a price tag and you either pay it or you can't. But that's not how this works at all. The Affordable Care Act doesn't charge everyone the same price. It charges based on your income. Not your wealth, not your net worth, not how much is sitting in your investment accounts. Your income, as it appears on line 11 of your tax return. That's the only number that matters for subsidies. And here's where it gets interesting, you see. That income number, the one the government uses to decide your premium, is something you can control. Most people have no idea. They think income is income. You make money, the government sees it, you pay based on that. But in retirement, you're not earning a salary anymore. You're pulling money out of accounts you spent decades building. And the type of account you pull from determines what shows up as income. This is the part that changes everything. And it's the part Devin never learned. At age 48, Marcus had about $400,000 in his 401k. Maxing it out every year, getting the employer match, doing everything traditional advice said to do. Then someone at a fire meetup explained the subsidy math to him. How pulling from a 401k in early retirement would price him out of healthcare subsidies entirely, because every dollar from a 401k shows up as ordinary income. Marcus did the math that night. If he kept maxing his 401k, he'd retire at 57 with about $900,000 in tax-deferred accounts and maybe $50,000 in a brokerage, which meant every dollar he pulled to live on, all $70,000 a year, would show up as income. At $70,000, healthcare for him and his wife would run $14,000 to $16,000 annually. No subsidies, full freight. For 8 years until Medicare. That's over $100,000 in premiums alone. So he changed the plan, kept contributing to his 401k, only up to the employer match, because that's free money. You always take that. Took everything else and redirected it into a taxable brokerage account. By 57, he had $600,000 in his 401k and $450,000 in his brokerage. Now, watch what happens when he retires. He pulls $70,000 a year from the brokerage account. But here's the key. Most of that $70,000 is his original money coming back to him. He bought index funds over the years. They grew. When he sells, only the growth is taxable. He bought shares for $55,000. They're now worth $70,000. He's only paying tax on the $15,000 gain. The other $55,000 moves from brokerage to checking account, completely invisible to the income calculation. His modified adjusted gross income, the number the ACA uses, shows $15,000. At that level, he's deep in subsidy territory. Healthcare drops from $15,000 a year to about $3,000. Over 8 years until Medicare, that's roughly $90,000 saved. Same net worth as Devin. Same spending. Same retirement lifestyle. Different pile. And that different pile bought him 8 extra years of freedom. Drop a comment if you're realizing right now that all your retirement savings are in a 401k and you never once thought about what that means for healthcare. Because at least half the people watching this are in Devin's exact trap and don't know it yet. And if you thought Marcus and Devin's story was just about these two guys, it's not. It's the default outcome for almost everyone who followed traditional retirement advice. And this is where it gets really ugly. Devin's situation is the norm, right? Max your 401k, get the match, take the tax deduction, let it compound. On paper, it looks like you did everything perfectly. Devin retired with $1.4 million. He's objectively wealthy, a millionaire. But when he actually tries to retire early, every single dollar he needs to live on creates taxable income. He needs $75,000 a year. That's $75,000 showing up on his tax return. He just priced himself completely out of subsidies. Now he's looking at healthcare premiums of $18,000 to $25,000 a year depending on location and plan. For 8 years, that's $144,000 to $200,000. And here's the brutal part. He has the money. He's a millionaire. But the structure of his wealth makes it impossible to access that money without triggering massive healthcare costs. This is what I call qualified rich and cash poor. Rich in accounts that generate taxable income every time you touch them. Poor in accounts that don't. The system doesn't care that you're wealthy. It doesn't look at your net worth. It doesn't check your account balances. It only cares what your tax return says. And Devin's tax return says he makes $75,000 a year, which puts him way above the subsidy threshold. So on paper, he looks like a high earner. In reality, He's a retiree, pulling from the only account he has. And the punishment for that is $18,000 to $25,000 a year in premiums. So he's stuck. Retire early and pay brutal premiums that eat through his savings faster than he planned. Or keep working until 65 when Medicare kicks in and the whole problem disappears. Most people in Devin's position choose to keep working. Not because they love the job, not because they need more savings, because they feel trapped by a cost they think is fixed and unavoidable when it's actually a consequence of a choice they made years earlier without knowing what they were choosing. And here's the part that really grinds, you see. Every single time Devin maxed his 401k beyond the employer match, every year for 20 plus years, he was choosing higher future healthcare costs, dollar by dollar, year by year, building a pile that would eventually trap him. He just didn't know it. His advisor didn't tell him. His HR department didn't tell him. The system itself is set up to reward you for doing the exact thing that creates this problem. And now he's paying for that silence with years of his life he can never get back. But if you thought Devin's healthcare trap was the worst this gets, wait until you see what happens at 73. Because the same account structure that destroys your healthcare costs in early retirement comes back for a second bite later. At 73, the IRS forces you to start taking required minimum distributions from traditional retirement accounts, RMDs. You don't choose whether to take them. You don't choose how much beyond the minimum. It's mandatory. And if you have too much in those accounts, your RMDs can spike your income so high that you're paying IRMAA surcharges on Medicare, where the government charges you extra for Medicare premiums because your income is too high. You can also get pushed into higher tax brackets permanently, all forced on you because you have zero control over the timing. Versus if you'd moved money into a Roth or built a brokerage account earlier, you'd have options. You could choose which account to pull from in any given year based on what makes sense for your taxes that year. That flexibility is worth tens of thousands of dollars over a 30-year retirement. But most people never get it because they spent their entire career dumping everything into a 401k because that's what the system told them to do. And here's the part that should make you genuinely angry. The system is designed this way. The employer match only exists in the 401k. There's no employer match on your brokerage account. The tax deduction feels incredible during your peak earning years, saving 22 or 24 cents on the dollar. It feels like winning. Nobody tells you that you're building a tax bomb that explodes in retirement when you actually need the money and every dollar comes out as income. You can't hide, can't control, and can't avoid. Drop a comment if this is starting to make you rethink your 401k strategy, because I think a lot of people are seeing this trap clearly for the first time right now. Now let me show you exactly what the numbers look like so you can run this for your own situation, because this is where it gets real, right? You're 55, 1.2 million across all accounts. Plan to retire at 60. 5 years until Medicare. You need $80,000 a year to live on. Scenario 1. 1 million in the 401k. 200,000 in Roth and brokerage. You pull from the 401k. All 80,000 shows up as income. Healthcare runs 20 to 23,000 a year for a couple. Over 5 years, 100 to 115,000 in premiums. Scenario 2, same 1.2 million, but split 600,000 401k, 600,000 brokerage. You pull 80,000 from the brokerage, 55,000 is your original principal returning. 25,000 is capital gains. Your modified adjusted gross income is 25,000. You're getting massive subsidies. Healthcare drops to 5 to 7,000 a year. Over 5 years, 25 to 35,000 total. Same net worth, same lifestyle, same retirement. You just saved $70 to $80,000, you see, by choosing which pile to pull from. That's not a trick. That's not a loophole. That's understanding how the system actually works versus how people assume it works. And here's what makes this even more urgent right now. The enhanced premium tax credits that were extended during COVID, the ones that made subsidies more generous, are expiring. For a couple earning just over 400% of the federal poverty line, that's about $81,760. You could see annual healthcare costs jump by $3,800 or more, depending on where you live. Insurers are proposing median premium increases of 15% for 2026. Out-of-pocket maximums are rising to $21,000 for families. These aren't small numbers, right? But here's what you need to understand. These changes are only devastating if you have no control over your income picture. If all your money is in pre-tax retirement accounts, you're a passenger. The tax code is driving. Pull money out and it's income. End of story. But if you planned ahead, if you have a taxable brokerage with real assets in it, you're the one driving. You control the income dial. The subsidy changes hurt the Devons of the world. The Marcuses barely notice. So here's what you actually do about this, depending on where you are right now. If you're under 50 and still accumulating, stop maxing your 401k beyond the employer match. I know that sounds insane. Every advisor says max it. But beyond the match, you're making a trade, a tax deduction today in exchange for losing control of your income picture in retirement. If you're planning to retire before 65, that trade is usually not worth it. Take everything beyond the match and build your brokerage account instead. You're buying income flexibility that's worth way more than the upfront tax savings. If you're already in your 50s and most of your money is in tax-deferred accounts, you've got 3 plays and all 3 of them work. 1, work a few more years, but shift all new savings into your brokerage. Those extra years aren't wasted if you're using them strategically to rebalance where your wealth sits. Every dollar that goes into your brokerage from here on out is a dollar of future income flexibility. 2, plan strategic Roth conversions in early retirement. Pay tax to move money from your traditional IRA to your Roth, but time it carefully year by year. Convert enough to fill the lower tax brackets, but not so much that you spike your income above the subsidy threshold and destroy your healthcare costs for that year. It's a tightrope walk. Takes careful planning. Takes someone who understands how MAGI interacts with both the tax brackets and the subsidy cliff simultaneously. But when it's done right, it works beautifully. 3, accept higher healthcare costs as the price of early retirement and adjust your spending or portfolio to compensate. Maybe go more aggressive on your asset allocation to offset the higher costs. Maybe tighten the budget in other areas for the pre-Medicare years. Not ideal, huh? But honestly, paying $18,000 a year for healthcare while living your actual life is still better than working until 65 if you hate your job. At least you're spending money on freedom instead of spending years on obligation. If you're already retired and stuck in this trap, it's not too late, but your options are more limited. You're playing defense now instead of offense. Strategic Roth conversions year by year. Managing which accounts you pull from to keep your MAGI as low as possible. Working with someone who actually understands how the subsidy math interacts with conversion math and withdrawal sequencing. The time to fix this was 10 years ago. The second best time is right now. And even playing defense, you can save meaningful money compared to just pulling blindly from your 401k and accepting whatever premium the marketplace hands you. Here are your 3 takeaways. 1. Modified adjusted gross income is the only number that matters for healthcare subsidies. Not net worth, not account balances, income on your tax return. And you control that number by choosing which accounts to fund now and which accounts to pull from later. 2. The 401k is not always the best place to save. It's the best place to get the employer match. Beyond that, you need to think about what your income picture looks like in early retirement. If you're planning to retire before 65, you probably need more in taxable accounts than traditional advice suggests. 3. Account location is a decision you make today that determines your costs a decade from now. You can't fix this the year you retire. You fix it by making different choices starting right now. Marcus understood the game. Devin didn't. Same wealth, same savings discipline, same career, same company for over 2 decades. Marcus retired at 57 with 8 extra years of freedom and $3,000 health care. Devin retired at 65 after 8 additional years of commutes and meetings and Monday mornings and performance reviews he didn't care about because nobody told him the number he was afraid of was a number he could control. And here's the thing that makes this story really land, right? Those 8 years Marcus got back, he spent them traveling to 23 countries with his wife, watching his grandkids grow up in real time instead of through photos on a phone during lunch breaks, learning to cook Italian food in Italy, building a life that had nothing to do with a job title or an alarm clock. Devin spent those same 8 years in the same cubicle doing the same work he'd already done for 20 years because a number on a healthcare website scared him into staying. A number that would have been 75% cheaper if someone had explained how account location works. That's the real cost, not dollars. Years. The specific years when your body and your energy and your curiosity are still firing on all cylinders. You can't get those back. No amount of money at 65 buys you the 57-year-old version of yourself. Don't be Devin. Run your numbers. Check which pile your money is in. And if the pile is wrong, start building the right one today. Because the clock on your healthiest years is already ticking. And healthcare is not the barrier you think it is. It's a line item. And line items can be engineered. Hit subscribe if this changed how you think about your 401k. Share this with someone who's planning to work until 65 because they think healthcare makes early retirement impossible. Because what they don't know about account location in the subsidy system could literally cost them the best years of their retirement. Years they'll spend in a cubicle when they could be on a beach or in a kitchen in Florence or watching their grandkids grow up in real time instead of through a screen. Drop a comment. Where is most of your money right now? 401k, brokerage, mix of both? And has this video changed your plan? Because the answers in these comments are going to help everyone here figure out which pile they need to start building. And that conversation might be worth more than anything I just said. See you in the next one.